I call this meeting back into session, and now I'm, because of Logan County District 3 Commissioner Monty Piercy not still on his way to get here, we'll move to put it back in recess.
A second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, we'll call this meeting back to order. And our question is on item 4, consideration of possible action on approving financial statement and fiscal year 15-16 county budget. And we have Jerry Putnam in the crowd. And so we had some questions.
Good morning, Jerry.
Good morning.
Morning.
And so that would be, I think, Marvin's the one that had the question about what, section 4 in the budget.
Actually, it starts at schedule.
Schedule 4.
I reprinted somewhere.
Get on those special revenue schedules, I guess.
That's different than what.
Schedule A, yeah.
No, you all got it in the books. I didn't know what it meant, so I didn't know. I'll have to look them up.
Under Exhibit I, yeah, Exhibit I. Special revenue funds accounts.
Okay.
Under Exhibit I, Schedule 5, where it says expenditures, special revenue funds account, current year.
Okay.
Under current year, miscellaneous, where it says about 6 lines down where it says miscellaneous revenue, bullet Schedule 4.
Right.
There's a lot of cash amounts in there that we don't see show that's not listed on Schedule 4, on miscellaneous Schedule 4.
I think I can explain that.
Okay.
In the old days, we used to have budget form they called horse blankets. They were large documents where we had to put all this information on there. And I think, at that time there were a lot less revolving funds, these type of special revenue funds, and they were able to show the revenue, detail it out by each different fund. And as legislation changed and a lot of the officers got their own revolving funds and that became a lot more difficult to show those in the budget. But when we switched over from the old horse blanket to this automated format, that reference, I think it's an old reference that is not pertinent now, because there's no subsidiary schedule for that. When we do the budget, that's just one amount that we enter, and
Okay.
it's a.
So where does those amounts come from?
Those amounts come actually from the treasurer's books and the clerk's books, and we do those takeoffs, and all we're trying to do on those special revenue funds is just show the in and out. They're not appropriated funds; they're just revolving funds, and when the state auditor, it's been 30 years since I worked for the state auditor's office, but when they come in, they do their takeoffs just to see that cash balance beginning and ending is correct, and so they don't have quite as much detail, but they can go back to the source documents just like we did and see that detail. And
They can go to.
yeah, they can go back and check, the state auditor go back and check the treasurer's record just like the reports we worked for.
Yeah, so as the commissioner reviewing the budget, when you say they can go back and check, I guess you're including me in that group as well, then, if I've got questions about that.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm
Yeah,
kind of having
sure.
some issues trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, sure, and if I can do anything, if you have a question we can answer over the phone, we'd be glad to
Well,
do that too.
And most of my questions that I'd like to ask in public and have answered in public, that way everybody knows what's going on. Okay.
But yeah, this is not an audit when we do this, a compilation, and we just work from
Yeah,
points that you have, and we summarize some things. That's
I
all
understand
that's
that, and
summarized.
along those lines of this not being an audit as far as your involvement in this, and was it the 4th page in here?
Yes.
We've got an independent audits compilation letter
Exactly.
from you,
Mhm.
which basically says that you've got no interest in saying whether or not this budget meets statutory or state guidelines on budget preparation.
It definitely meets state guidelines.
Well, I said it may. and we'll say, I'll say that. But you have a disclaimer in here says that you're not attesting to whether or not it is, it does or does not.
That's a letter, we're required to put that in when we compile financial statements, and that's, and if you look in the budget program, they have one in there that's just generic, and so we'll kind of customize our, we use the same language in the established letter there in the budget.
Okay.
We have to do that and say that we compiled it, that we didn't audit it, so that we don't give false reference to somebody else that these are audited numbers. That the state auditor is the one that comes in and audits the financial statements. We just compiled it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And so when the state auditor comes and audits the county, it's called the county financial audit.
Right.
My concern is over the past 6 audits, this county's failed to pass that audit. The last 6 in a row.
That's a valid concern if they have that.
And my understanding is the last one that was looked at this last year was FY 13-14. And we seem to still be doing kind of the same things over and over. And I'm trying to figure out how we get some assurance as a board that we're doing things correctly as far as our budget. Why has our budget's been failing in the past? Why have we not passed state audits? Those are questions that I'm concerned, and I'd like to get some answers to. And I mean, if that's not within the scope of what we've hired you to do, I certainly understand that. But if it's not, then we need to find somebody that can.
Well, about all I can say, this is the second budget we've done for the county, and the first one we had some problems. Just I think it was because of the predecessor budget maker. We thought there were some things that were done incorrectly and some misunderstanding about the budget program. And I don't know if there's anything specific, Troy, about the last budget that we did. It was referenced in your audit, but they've gone that far. And
There was a finding for an overestimate that I recall. I haven't refreshed my memory on the last one. I know that was in there to reference back where the reserve years, I think, was where the issue was, and it was, I believe their term is overestimated, was a finding in the last audit. Now, the last audit was a 2-year audit, so it wouldn't have been both years, I don't believe, were you.
I don't think they're current with, I think they're still behind on audits, but we'd be happy to work with the staff.
They caught up to year 13. They did 2009 through 2013 this last year.
Oh, okay.
So they did all of that last year and got caught up. But in doing that, all of those years, 09 through 13, failed to pass the audit. So it's been a reoccurring finding for 6 audits that we haven't been able to put together a compliant budget. And that concerns me.
Well, that's all before our time, but I'd be glad to look at that and see if there's anything that might carry over to what we're doing.
Right. And so when I ask questions like, what kind of trends do you see in why we have so much extra money in the general fund this year? And the response that I kind of got back was I could check the spreadsheet like everybody else. That's not an answer that I expect to get from a financial analyst. And again, if that's not the job that we've hired you to do, I certainly understand that. And if it's not, then we need to find somebody that can answer those questions for us.
Yeah. That's not really, we do provide the resources that are available for the budget. They try to be conservative as to follow the statutes and use 90% on reoccurring types of income and so forth, and make sure we've got the carryovers tied down. But yeah, we don't have any kind of crystal ball where we can do those kind of projections. And in our letter, we're not saying that we're doing any kind of projections, and we're not doing that type of a presentation for you. Our biggest concern, I think the biggest backstory, is that we're almost halfway through this year. We don't have a budget right now. We need to move forward on that. We've got still 15 days when these budgets get to the Capitol before the protest period starts on all the budgets in this district. We need to get tax statements out. We can't do that until everything is approved by the State Equalization Board. And so that's our biggest concern right now, is this year and getting a budget and moving forward. we really.
My biggest concern is getting a compliant budget approved, not just getting one approved. Because we're
Getting
gonna
what
get
kind of budget?
Compliant.
Oh, yeah, it's compliant.
We can get a guarantee from you on that in writing?
Well, yeah.
What I'd like to do
Calculation
then-
letter that is.
Sure, what I'd like to do then is if you would be willing to sign a letter saying you'd be willing to refund the $5,000 that the county reimburses you for this service if we fail the audit, I'd be happy to entertain that.
My budget has nothing to do with.
But you say it's
whether we fail the
compliant, you said
audit or
it's
not.
compliant, I'm just trying to figure out
If
how.
you
we
read
determine
my
that.
compilation letter, it is compliant.
So
We
this-
comply with the statutes when we put it together. We follow requirements of the presentation. And we have to say that it's not an audit, we're just doing compilation.
Okay. That's all I had.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. And do we need to go back to 6 or 7? Or do we just go ahead and hit
I think-
anybody have
We need-
anything else?
Wait. We need to get these signed.
Oh, yeah. We do need to get those signed.
I think you gotta go
You
back
already
to
took
six.
action on number 5
Yes.
and on what was listed as number 1 on the addenda.
Mhm. Yeah, we already did that. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
We have 4 of them.
Yeah, on those. And then I got the flag on, flip that page. That's just for me to print in everyone's names. The signatures go on that page.
Oh. Did I do wrong here?
No.
Okay. Oh, okay, got it.
They're set up to be used with either a budget board or
I was gonna say, this
or
is-
us, so since we're not a budget board, it's just those 3, that's the exercise, that's why I put a different color on
So,
it.
I'm here.
Right.
They're there. Okay.
State Auditor's Office now has all the county budgets up on the website. I don't know if you've seen that now, but he has a special tab where you can go and look at all the county budgets, and hopefully won't be the last one filed this year. It's
When I spoke to Nancy yesterday, she said she doesn't even have half of them
good.
yet.
Well, we
How
won't
many
be-
counties do you do, Jerry?
About 6 or 7.
How many schools?
Oh, about 35 or 40 probably. There's some single towns too, and yeah, that's the thing, that we're concerned that They don't start the protest period till all the budgets come in, so Troy has to get all the schools in, get all the cities and towns, all the taxing districts, and then we can't do tax statements until those things are finalized at the state equalization board, that they sign off on them, and so it's a domino effect. If we don't get the tax statements out, we don't get money coming in for the schools, for the county, and that ad valorem tax share needs to come in. It's such a big part of our budget, so we want to try to keep the process going as much as we can.
So you believe our check and balances are as they should be, and
Well, that's more the audit area.
Okay.
From our standpoint, we didn't do a lot of internal control testing and that.
I'm
Number
ready to
6.
adjourn. Huh?
Want to do number 6 again?
We can. Any citizen desiring to be heard? Do any comments, announcements, questions by the Board of County Commissioners?
Just an announcement, I did attend the Guthrie City Council meeting yesterday and listened to the EMS briefing by the fire chief. It was very, very informative, and look forward to the EMS meeting this Friday to see how that goes. We sure need to get that emergency service reestablished for those folks up there.
I agree.
That's a critical service that we need to provide.
I agree.
That's all I had. I just wanted to.
Okay,
Oh, and I've
from-
also got copies of the handouts from that, if you guys want copies. Yeah.
Sure.
We're good. I just got one, we just need to
Okay.
make copies of that one. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Motion adjourned.
I'll move.
Second.